This is a review of the Triangle Art electronics, the Phono stage, the Preamplifier, and the reference power amplifiers. Now, we requested a concerto turntable from Triangle Art. You may remember the review that I did of the Signature, which is kind of like a beautiful wedding cake. It was a silver circular plinth with a similar but thicker and deeper platter. This uses the same bearing. This is the concerto model of the Triangle Art turntable. Now, Triangle Art, of course, better known for turntables. Tom Vu, the savant, very, very intelligent and focused man who designed and built all of the turntables, added a line of electronics this year, and he showed them and showcased them and debuted them at THE Show 2016. And he asked me to review them. He said he had been approached by everybody in the industry to review them, but he wanted me to do so. I think that's because I'm most familiar with his turntable products in the United States, and I also think he's a straightforward designer, and he's very focused when it comes to setting up a room. It's set up impeccably. All of the videos we've shot of Triangle Art rooms, you'll see that the equipment is lined up perfectly in a row. The lighting is impeccably done and set on each piece of equipment to highlight the fit and the finish. Now, that is really the strength of the Triangle Art turntables. Their fit and finish is off the charts. They're beautiful to look at. They all share a similar signature, and then that's beauty and size of soundstage. Now, this is a newer turntable from Triangle Art, again the Concerto, and it has the same bearing as the Signature that we reviewed. The platter itself is a little thinner, and the stand that it sits on comes from Triangle Art, and that's optional. The turntable can sit on a piece of butcher block, or it can sit on any shelf or stand that you might have. We requested to have the actual Triangle Art base for the table. Now, the electronics, this is a surprise. Most electronics that come in and out of our systems are from designers who have been in the business a very long time. Dimitris from Ypsilon, longtime designer. Dan D'Agostino, longtime designer, Krell, and now D'Agostino and company. I mean, now the list goes on and on and on and on. The Audio Note, Peter Kortrup and Andy Grove, and Andy were the longtime designers. Tom Vu, this is a debut. So I really didn't know what to expect when I wired the system up. We've had the system since the end of August. It was shipped to us following the show in California, and we began to further break it in. Tom said it was relatively new at the time, and we should have a little bit of time on it. And we used it in the Brio Trio review. Now, if you remember that review, it really matched well. The amplifiers match with the Brios just perfectly. This review is very different. We have the amplifiers matched with a pair of Rido D4.1s. We will be doing the debut review and video of the Ridos. That will be following this review here. The Ridos are not as easy to drive as the Brios. So I was curious as to how a 160 watt per channel amplifier would do, tube amplifier class AB, would do with the Ridos, and it's a match made in heaven. Now, the high point of the Brio review with the Triangle Art electronics was the quality and finesse and articulation of detail. It was impeccably done with the highest degree of refinement. Now, that's what separates the men from the boys when it comes for amplifier designs. There's a lot of amplifiers out there from second-tier amplifier companies that boast big power ratings and very low distortion numbers, and they may have some pedigree contract designers designing for them, but they don't have refinement. And that is really what I look for as a reviewer in a product, is refinement. And overall, if I could conclude the review even before I get it started, I would say that these might be some of the most refined electronics I've ever heard. And again, this is a debut effort from Tom Vu. So let's go through the system. We have the Rido behind me, D4.1s. These are Rideau's newest speaker this year. They come in two finishes. They come in black, they come in walnut. The black is around 111,000, the walnut's 139. So for under 150 is what I say. Just so that there's some wiggle room in these videos, because they do last a long time on YouTube and prices do change. So you're looking at a $150,000 maxed out Rideau, actually 139 in this finish, or a $111,000 speaker. And so the Triangle Art electronics, well, let's before we begin the electronics, the concerto turntable is about $5,000. The Apollo cartridge retails for approximately $8,000. The amplifiers that are driving the Rideaus are currently retailing for $18,000. The Phono stage is a little over $13,000. I believe it's $13,500. And the Preamplifier or line stage is retailing currently at $18,000. Now, again, as these videos, as we just mentioned, they have a long shelf life, and prices do change over time. So you're dealing with a system here of electronics that, if you add up 5 plus 8 plus 13 plus 18 plus 18, is a little bit less than the loudspeakers, which is really the sweet spot you want to be in. You want to split your spend on 40% for the loudspeaker, 40% for the electronics and source, and the balance for your cabling. And that's just a basic rule of thumb. So let's talk in more detail and give you some specs on the amplifier, the Phono stage, and the preamplifier. The Apollo cartridge feeds into the reference Triangle Art Phono stage. What I find fascinating about this first product offering from Triangle Art, this series of electronics, is the parts quality. I mean, we're talking high-end parts. We're talking Lundell transformers inside the Phono stage. These are made in Sweden. These are not inexpensive. They're able to amplify a 0.3 millivolt cartridge with ease, and that's what the Apollo is. So just the transformers themselves are at the top of the market. The separate power supply. Now what that is doing is it's moving the toroidal transformer, which is changing the AC to the DC, and all of the hum and fields around it, out of the box of the Phono stage itself. This is very important to keep the noise floor down. It's got 3 vacuum tubes in the power supply, so it's tube regulated. They're a 5A R4, a 6V6, and a 6S L7. And moving over to the actual amplifier itself, it's using 12 AX7s. Now these are very popular tubes, very standard design layout. They have premium Amtram resistors in here. I mean, we're talking again, very, very expensive parts quality. It's got a pair of MC inputs, so you can use dual tone arms on it. You can switch back and forth. It is a single-ended RCA output, so you need to use RCAs between the Phono preamplifier and the line stage. It's, as you can see, it's beautiful. I mean, the design of it is, gosh, I mean, if you look at it and you go, this just bespeaks quality. Okay, let's move up to the Triangle Art reference preamplifier. Again, 2 chassis. So you're separating the power supply from the amplification unit. Again, that's to reduce noise floor. That also adds to the expense because you have 2 chassis. The volume pot is like turning the wheel of a Lexus, smooth and calculating. It has 4 inputs. You can hear me turning on the inputs. Now this is a very interesting unit. It's featuring 6 SN7s. Now 6 SN7s in a preamplifier are a very bold and vivid tube. You can get, I believe, a little bit more delicacy out of other tubes, but for some reason, the way Tom has implemented these 6 SN7s, I've never heard a 6 SN7 line stage have this much delicacy and finesse. I used to own a Y-Tech Opal, and that was a 6 SN7 line stage as well. And yes, it was bold, yes, it was vivid, it had a big sound to it, but Tom Vu's, the Triangle Art line stage preamplifier, is got the finesse. It's got the finesse of a Ferrari. It's really at the top of what I consider its class. The unit has Swiss-made Elma selector switches. That's that silkiness that we were talking about. There's a reason why. They're made in Switzerland. And again, top parts quality equals finesse. It's using Amtran AMRG premium carbon fiber resistors inside the preamp. And these are very high tolerance resistors. Again, parts quality. These are sourced from the best component manufacturers in the world today. And in any system, the most important component is the amplifier, because it's the amplifier to speaker handshake that means everything. A high impedance amplifier will have a low damping factor. Not ideal with hard to drive speakers. Now we're using Rido D 4.1s, and the amplifier puts out 160 watts with 4 KT88s running in class AB per channel. The driver tube is again a 6 SN7, so you see the familiarity here through the product range. 6 SN7s, but implemented in a way that are giving us finesse. We're working here again with the Ridos, and we're getting a very good match at 160 watts per channel. It's a fairly easy amplifier to lift up. It only weighs 50 pounds per side. It's got, again, the two 6 SN7s driving the 4 KT88s, and it's beautifully finished, as you can see. You can see the gold facade on the faceplate. It's got a nice thick, it's got to be almost less than ½ inch faceplate on the front. Solid construction all around, back panel, solid construction, and again, it's just a statement piece to look at. The power and output transformers are custom wound in the United States. The top of the amplifier also features bias test points. Each tube is biased individually, and you can easily access it again from the top of the amplifier, as you can see here. So you're getting some of the best resistors and capacitors sourced throughout the world, and US made iron. How cool is that? So that's pretty much a system rundown on the specs, and let's move on. So that was very interesting, going through each of the units. These are our traditional design products, Class A, B, KT88s, very easy to source a KT88 tube. One of my favorite tubes for a tube amplifier. I think it gives you the best of all worlds. It's quiet, it has lots of power, and it's easy to source. There's lots of them out there in the marketplace. You can go new old stock, or you can go brand new, as we have here. The high point of all of it is how it works together. They work together as a team to make that high level of finesse. So I have to, my hat is off to Tom Vu for this product debut. So let's move on to the next portion of our review. We want to listen to the amplifiers driving the Ridos. We will be using, again, the concerto turntable, the Apollo cartridge, the triplanar long tone arm. We're wired up currently with purest anniversary, 25th anniversary cable between the units. between the power amplifier and the line stage, and between the phono stage and the preamplifier. We've used a pair of NOLA speaker cables because they were burned in from the Brio review for the Ridos, and they have bananas. The Ridos that we have, our pair, was ordered with a banana only input. We're going to be doing up next a synergistic loom, so that will you'll see that featured next in our next series of videos. That completes the system overview and the individual products of the Triangle Art Electronics. So my favorite part of the review, let's go listen to some music.